Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin. I'm also known as Queen Bee Tarot. I'm a professional astrologer and tarot reader, and as many of you know, I used to write horoscopes. I would publish them every Sunday, and I would write individualized and quite detailed horoscopes for every sign. But you know, sometimes life happens, and that's what happened for me. I ran out of time, and recently I've been thinking, man, it's been a hot minute since I've put out horoscopes. My mission is to empower and to enlighten. That is my favorite thing in the world. I love teaching, I love helping, and I love encouraging other people to trust their intuition. So writing horoscopes, or at least giving horoscopes, has always been a huge joy for me and something that I've actually really missed. So it's been a hot minute, and as I was thinking about writing horoscopes, which I really love to line up especially with new moons, because new moons represent new beginnings. And so what I did was I created my list. This is my work in progress. This is how I start. I've got every sign written down here, and I ended up coming up with 3 major topics to talk about in this week's astrology. I'm just focusing on 1 week. This week we have a new moon in Leo. And so what I'm going to do to start this video is I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown with the astrological kind of weather report, and fill you in on kind of what's happening for everybody. And then I'm going to get into how that's going to look and how that's going to play out for each of the 12 signs. So I would strongly encourage that you listen to this beginning intro part, but if you're short on time, that's okay. You can check out the timestamps in the comments. Look for your astrological sign. What I've done is, the way that these work, the way that I write these horoscopes, look up either your sun sign, or even better, if you know your rising sign, look that one up instead. But both will give you really good insight. So here we go. What I'm looking at not only is the new moon on Wednesday, it's going to be in Leo. Anytime we have a new moon, that represents astrologically a new beginning. And the reason for that is that the sun and the moon are in the same place. We have a unified focus of our outer self, our personality represented by the sun, intertwined and on the same page as our inner emotional intuitive self represented by the moon. So these are great opportunities once every 29 days to embrace a restart. And as many of you may have heard, a lot of astrologers or spiritual workers, we talk a lot about working with the moon. And the reason we would say that is because our emotions tend to really be a huge part of our lives, and our intuition is also tied in with the moon. It's both. It's our emotional health and it's our intuition. So when we're working with the moon, we're working with themes that happen for days or perhaps months at a time. And when we have a new beginning, it represents, like I said, a new moon represents a new beginning. And what that means is it's an opportunity to embrace a restart in the sign that the new moon is happening. So what does it mean to have a new moon in Leo? Well, that means that we're going to have a restart when it comes to all the themes associated with Leo. Leo is a fire sign represented by the lion. And on the outside, Leo is usually either dressed really nicely or presents themselves with either bright colors or, well done hair or makeup or nails, if that's what they choose to do. Leo is known for leadership, charisma, courage, all these positive qualities. But every sign has positive qualities as well as challenging qualities. And as much as Leo may present as being quite confident, they actually really struggle with themes of insecurity and ask themselves often, who am I? And in life, because humans are social creatures, we often try and find the answer to who am I by looking outside of ourselves, which is so wild, but it's something we all do, right? And so we may judge ourselves, our worthiness, how much we're accepted, our place in the world. We may judge ourselves by our interactions with other people in life. But what happens when those interactions perhaps go sour? What happens when we realize that a lot of stuff, especially other people, are totally out of our control. That's when change is catalyzed and we actually have to return to the inner perspective represented by the moon. So asking questions like, who am I, or what is my place in my world, or things along that nature, that's kind of what's happening here with the new moon. We're reconsidering not only our self-image, but the duality of how do other people see us and how do we see ourselves, and are we making choices based on making other people happy, or are we making choices based on I'm going to feel really good with this choice? And those sorts of questions are going to be really heavy in our minds. The week is going to begin with the moon in Cancer. And what I did was I printed out a chart of the new moon because I wanted to be able to show you some stuff that's happening. The moon is going to start the week, finishing up the weekend in Gemini, and then the moon is going to start being in Cancer on Monday. And what happens, Sunday, Monday, moon's going to be in Cancer. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to join up with Venus, who has been in Cancer and will be in Cancer for another couple of weeks. Venus represents our sense of comfort, either with material items or with our needs being met, like food and rest and drink, or also our relationships with other people. Venus is all about love and comfort and relationships. So when the moon meets up with Venus, what we're going to see is emotionality displayed either with money, that could be retail therapy, or the tendency to buy things just because all we want to do is feel better. It could be translated into eating a lot or drinking a lot. It could be translated into showering love or perhaps puking our emotions within relationships. When the moon meets up with Venus in Cancer in the beginning of the week, it's also meeting up with Lilith. This little sign is Lilith. So the sign of Cancer is represented by the crab. It's all about being really deeply in touch with your emotions. It is a sea creature. It lives in the water. It goes with the flow. The crab is a very soft creature that is protected by a hard shell on the outside. So Cancer is associated with being very sensitive and having to have strong boundaries in order to protect their sensitive hearts. When Venus is in Cancer, as it is right now for the next couple of weeks, that means that within the context of our relationships, our relationship with money, our relationship with food, within that context, emotions are coming through really strong. This may be a time of you realizing that your relationships are a safe place for your emotions, or this could be a time of realizing that your relationships are not a safe place for your emotions. So the way that this plays out is going to be different for every sign and every individual, but that is the theme. The other way that this is going to play out is in the beginning of the week, we might have a tendency to, like I said, eat too much or drink too much or perhaps spend too much money. So be mindful of that tendency. Then as the week progresses, the moon moves into Leo, and this is a chart for the new moon. This is showing where the moon and the sun are going to be on Wednesday for the new moon in Leo. So when the moon moves into Leo, there's going to be more of a focus. Instead of being soft and perhaps sad or emotional, we're going to move into being more confident. Now, if we are frustrated within our emotions, that confidence might come from getting angry. If we're did I say comfortable or uncomfortable? If we are uncomfortable within our relationships, we might move through the week, starting with sad, moving into angry, or perhaps being better at asserting our boundaries or speaking our truth. But we're definitely going to move away from how come I'm not getting what I want, or the desire to get what you want from the outside, to the new moon where we're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I am responsible for my choices. I'm responsible for my happiness. I am responsible for making sure that my needs are met, and I can't expect that from anybody else. So as you move through the week, you may reevaluate your relationships based on, are my needs getting met? Are these safe places for me to express my emotions? And if not, that's going to catalyze change. The other thing I wanted to point out, really cementing this theme, is that this new moon is going to happen right next to Eros and Ceres. Eros is the asteroid named after like Cupid, the god of love, and Ceres is named after the goddess of earth and mothering and compassion. So if we combine the theme of Eros and Ceres, we can see that this new moon is also going to have a lot to do with themes of giving and receiving love, and whether or not our relationships or our jobs or our money or our homes, we're going to be reevaluating whether or not these places are fertile ground from which we can grow and be better people, or foresee a future, or, you know what I mean, have healthy relationships. So the focus is all going to be about doing what we love, or maybe we're having a hard time doing what we love. And whether or not the affection or, you know, any of the energy that we give out within relationships, we're going to be reevaluating whether or not that same energy is returned. And I just want to be able to tell you it's okay to think about the spoken and unspoken contractual agreements that happen within the context of relationships. It is okay to ask, what am I getting out of this? That's a valid question. So if you find that you're just giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return, that's where Lilith is going to be activated, and you're going to say, F this, I'm out. In whatever form really aligns with you as an individual. But that's going to be the train of thought for a lot of people this week. I'm not doing this anymore. Or on the opposite side of that, if you come to the realization that you are surrounded by love, that you are in a trusting, safe environment, then this is going to be a time of doubling down with your affections and saying, I commit. This is where I want to be. This is what I love. These are the people that I love. So it's going to be one or the other, and it's going to be a strong contrast. You're going to fit into either one category or the other. We're going to close the week with the moon still in Leo, but lining up with Mercury. Now, whereas the moon represents our emotional side, Mercury represents our logical side. So again, we're going to close the week with our emotions being deeply intertwined with our logic. This is not a good time to make major decisions. This is not a good time to be making major purchases either, because your emotions are going to be duking it out with your logic, and you might not be very happy later with the decisions that you made. So hold off on any major decisions or major purchases. It's going to be a very emotional week, but this is going to be a very telling week. I have a little quote for you before I get into the 12 signs, and that is, the truth will set you free, but first it might piss you off. That's what this week is going to be about. It's going to be about realizations. Now, not only looking at where the moon is moving through the chart, the other thing I do as an astrologer, as I said, there were 3 major things that I was going to talk about this week. One of them is the new moon and the moon's movement through Cancer and Leo. One of the other things that I want to talk about is that Jupiter is in Aries, and it's going to go retrograde this week. And when it does, it's going to go back towards Chiron, the wounded healer. So wherever you're at in these realizations that are happening this week, it may be a reinforcement of your faith in yourself or in other people. Or this week could also be catalyzing a major crisis in faith, where you realize that you can't count on people, that you can only count on yourself, or something along those lines. Jupiter has to do with expansion, seeking knowledge, trying new things, perhaps even travel and adventure. But it also has a lot to do with our core beliefs. And what we believe either is possible or not possible. What we believe about ourselves and other people, that becomes a lens through which we see the world, through which we judge our interactions, or through which we assess whether or not a potential is realistic. So Jupiter going retrograde in Aries is the god of war. Aries is about spontaneous, quick decisions, especially in the heat of the moment. This may be a time of breakups, breakdowns. Jupiter's going to be retrograde for a few months. And so it really is a time to be mindful of when you're making quick, emotionally based decisions. Not a good combination. If your emotions are really high, it is very important to wait until you are back into a calm, peaceful state before you make any major decisions or major purchases. The other thing that is happening is that Jupiter retrograde is forming a square angle with Venus. And so that means that our relationships are coming under focus. And if there are any cracks, weak spots, challenges within relationships, this is going to be a time of them all coming up to the surface. So don't stuff what you're seeing. Don't stuff your feelings. You got to speak your truth appropriately and respectfully. But you really have to be realistic about what's happening and don't just go la la la. That's not going to be helpful. This square represents a challenge, like a mountain that needs to be overcome. Might as well take it one step at a time. The other major thing that's happening is Mars has met up with Uranus right here, and the North Node. So Mars is all about action. Uranus is all about change and transformation and thinking outside of the box. And the North Node is our karmic destiny, where we are headed, what we are destined to learn. Everything that's coming up right now, you were destined to be challenged with. You were destined to learn from. So again, please don't go la 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 to the challenges in your life right now. Face them head on, because this is prime time. With Mars aligning with Uranus, this is prime time to take action, to make changes, to make that choice that you've been holding off on, or to finally say goodbye to toxic people in your life. Now is the time. Now is the time to embrace a new healthy way of living. Taurus is all about food, drink, good rest, good company. Now is the time to change any eating habits, sleeping habits, bad habits. Now is the time to make those changes. The recipe is here. The potential is here. And so definitely my suggestion is just face it head on. Don't run away. You're being shown exactly what you need to see in order to make the most informed decisions you can moving forwards. Believe in yourself. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the 12 signs. Like I said, this chart here, what I'm going to do is sum up essentially that intro that I just gave you. That's the astrology for everybody. But as far as how it's going to play out, what I do as an astrologer is I look at essentially what house these things would be happening in, and what that means as far as a very specific theme in your life, a very specific part of your life in which these challenges or these awakenings are going to be taking place. So for Aries, if you are either an Aries sun or an Aries rising, the moon, when it moves into Venus, is going to be in your 4th house. You're going to feel really, really challenged by the deep emotions coming up, and you're going to probably want to run from them. But again, don't run away. The new moon is going to happen in your 5th house of self, ego, creativity, and a sense of playfulness. So if you are realistic about what your emotions are telling you, if you are honest with yourself about whether or not you're expecting too much out of other people, if you're willing to meet your own needs on your own, this is going to be an amazingly creative and awakening and invigorating process, because the new moon, being in Leo, since you're in Aries, is going to be in another fire sign. So it's really, really good for getting a boost of your creativity, breaking through writer's block, seeing the other side of any challenges you might be enduring right now. So on the other side of the big emotions comes a breakthrough. And so it's really important for you, dear Aries, to make sure that whatever choices you're making, whatever relationships you are putting your energy into, make sure that you feel good about it. Because if you don't feel good about it, if you're stuffing resentment, if you don't feel like there's space to talk about either your feelings or your truth or completely be yourself, if you don't have that freedom, these relationships or jobs or whatever you're in is going to completely fall apart. For Jupiter to go retrograde in your sign, this is a time of rethinking all those questions of who am I, what do I believe, and what do I want. So while Jupiter is retrograde in your sign, you're going to be going through a massive period of questioning and really asking yourself some seriously deep questions. So make sure to set that time aside through meditation, Aries doesn't typically do well with meditation, like just sitting still and doing the classic kind of meditation. Running can be a meditation. Playing a sport, being outside, going for a walk. Physical movement is really, really good for you. So if you don't have enough physical movement in your life right now, it's an awesome opportunity to get your body moving and think some stuff through. When Jupiter goes retrograde, it's going to create a square angle, that challenging angle to Venus in your 4th house. So again, this is going to be a time of really reevaluating your emotional health. Do you feel good? If not, is making yourself feel better within your grasp, or does it feel like something elusive? What changes can you make? What decisions can you make? Who can you make sure to either surround yourself by or eliminate from your inner circle in order to feel better? This is a time of self-preservation for you. Make those hard choices. When Mercury in Leo creates a square angle, again, to Mars and Uranus in Taurus, you're going to feel really challenged between, knowing that you need to make changes, but also a narrative inside of yourself going, but I've always been like this, or we've always been friends. It would be weird to end our friendship, or you're going to have a really hard time implementing these changes that you need to make, because in a lot of ways you're going to be either stuck in a rut or stuck in a routine. And so you do have to keep an open mind to making some big changes in how you deal with other people, but also what you expect from other people. Be mindful that your ego is going to be talking a lot, and it might be hard for you to even see that something is possible, because you're like, no, I've always done things my way, or I've always done things this way, or I've always interacted with this person. You're going to have to break out of those like always and never statements. So just think, have your mind kind of open to that. Taurus, when the moon for you, Miss Taurus, Mr. or Miss, sorry, it's funny, I do autopilot like greetings, so please don't pay any mind to that. Dear Taurus, when the moon moves into Cancer at the beginning of the week, you are going to feel most emotional about your social circle. You may feel as though your emotions are really coming through in either what topics of conversation come about, or you may be realizing that when you sent a message that, ooh, wow, that sounded really emotional and I didn't mean to do that. You're going to find that your words are infused with emotion in the beginning of the week, and your inner circle is probably going to notice. They're going to say, hey, are you okay? Or that sort of thing. When the moon moves into Leo and we have the new moon in Leo, that's when things are going to get really hard. The week is going to actually start off okay for you. It's going to be this sense of like, wow, I'm feeling pretty emotional right now. By Wednesday, when the new moon happens, that's going to create a square to your sign. It's going to feel especially challenging. So you're going to be confronted with one of two things. You're either going to realize that you've been far too egotistical or far too self-serving, or it's going to be the opposite. You're going to realize, wow, I'm always looking out for other people and I never actually look out for myself. So this new moon in Leo on Wednesday is going to highlight your emotional health and the roots, the habitual responses. What do you usually do when you're not emotionally feeling that great? Do you go straight to eating food, or do you go straight to avoidance, like watching a TV or surfing on your phone? Your week is going to ask of you that you sit with your emotions, with no distractions. Just feel them and try and figure out what your emotions are telling you. And remember, everything is within your control. And that doesn't include people. People are outside of your control. But whether or not you interact with people is within your control. Or whether or not you react to what people are doing is within your control. I hope that makes sense. Jupiter being retrograde in Aries is going to be extremely difficult for you. It's going to be really emptying the skeletons out of the closet. There's going to be a sense of like clearing out the cobwebs. You may realize that you've been going la, 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 la to some really not good stuff for a while. This is going to be a time of going, oh my God, what have I been ignoring this whole time? Or, you know, these realizations of what used to be almost like a mystery to you. You're going to have these moments of awakening with Jupiter being in Aries, and you might even have quick, like angry responses, the ego defending itself. Well, saying, yeah, of course I acted like that because such and such did something. Other people's behavior is never an excuse for you to take on bad behavior. Your choices are your choices, right? So when it comes to this Jupiter retrograde being in your 12th house, you're going to have to really, really work hard to see things clearly without the lens of ego clouding your perception. And when it squares Venus in Cancer, again, everything is going to come up with either your communication or your need to talk it out, or you're going to realize something really important about your inner social circle. It's, again, the common theme is going to be whether or not your emotional needs are met and whether or not you are doing enough to meet them yourself. Taking responsibility for how you feel and taking responsibility for what comes out of your mouth. Mercury being in Leo creates a square to Mars and Uranus in Taurus. Again, Mercury in Leo is in your 4th house. This is all coming down to your emotional health and the roots of your behavior. When it squares Mars and Venus in Taurus, that Mars and Venus are in your 1st house right now. You are currently going through a massive shift, reshuffling what you do within your day-to-day life and how you personally perceive yourself. You're going to feel a bit squeezed in the beginning of the week because your logic and your emotions are going to kind of be on different pages, but by the end of the week you're going to understand both logically and emotionally what needs to be done and what the root of the problem is. This is going to be something that's going way back for you. There's going to be ties to either early childhood or, you know, maybe just years and years ago. There's going to be essentially a pattern of behavior or a pattern of relating to other people that you only do because you have the desire for other people to see you a certain way. But if you take out the ingredient of wanting to prove yourself or wanting to present yourself in a particular way, when you take that out and you say, I'm me. I'm not going to pretend to be anything. I'm not going to trip over myself to appear a certain way in your eyes. It's all about coming back to your authentic self and not making your decisions, not speaking, not saying certain things just because you realize it's going to have an effect and it's going to achieve this end result. You're going to come back to just the basic essentials of meeting your own emotional needs and where the roots of that come from. Gemini, the moon moving into Cancer at the beginning of the week is going to be in your 2nd house. And for you, your emotions are going to point you in the direction of what do I value? If you're going to have an emotional response and it's going to reflect whether or not your values are being matched and lined up, or whether or not something feels out of your value system, out of your moral system. Now, just remember that every finger you point out, there's 3 pointing inwards. You may have the tendency to judge other people and say, it's them, it's them, it's them. By the middle of the week, you're going to realize that actually a lot of it is actually you. But we'll get there. The moon moving into Cancer, like I said, is going to be emotionally highlighting what your values are. And you may even be struggling with a sense of, I don't have enough of, whether that be food, money, resources, friends. You may be saying, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. So for you, the new moon, when it happens in your 3rd house, you're going to move from feeling something and thinking something to actually speaking it. Now, what you're going to notice is, what is the effect of me saying to people, I don't have enough of something? Are they going to say, that's nice? Or are they going to say, you know, something that really engages with a sense of, oh, wow, I care about you. I care about whether or not you have enough of something. You're going to take step by step from emotion to speaking it out to judging the reaction when you speak it out, which is going to all propel you to a sense of, am I living the kind of life that I really want to live? Do I have tangible proof of how hard I work in my community? Do I have tangible proof for my creative efforts? Do I have a sense that what I'm working towards is actually going to happen? Jupiter retrograde is going to be in your 11th house. You're going to be rethinking your place in society as a whole. You're going to be rethinking your creative expression. And when it comes to creative expression, for example, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you do something creative professionally, you're going to be asking yourself questions like, am I being paid what I'm worth? Am I doing projects that align with my beliefs and my ideals? Or am I having to just schlep it out because I need a paycheck, but in the end I feel empty? There's going to be a lot of questions about, your values, your place in society, and whether or not everything is worth your time and energy. Mercury in Leo is going to mean that when you evaluate whether or not you're getting what you want or that your values are being met, you're going to have a very egotistical lens applied to it. You may elevate your sense of self-importance. You may also alternatively not think very highly of yourself. So it's going to be really important to remember that your value as a person, as an artist, as anything in the world, your value as a person is not always going to be proportionate to what you receive in your return. So I like to point out there's a lot of really famous artists out there, Van Gogh, whoever, who worked their entire lives and died penniless, only afterwards to have their pieces in museums and be revered as the world's greatest artist. So don't evaluate your self-worth based on whether or not people see it. Make sure that everything that you do is because it's what you believe in, and you will get the results that you're hoping for. When it comes to making changes in your life, something that may be a blind spot for you is how much you personally are responsible for what happens in your life. You may have a tendency, like I said, to point the finger outwards. This is a time to realize three-point inwards. There's going to be a sense of mystery around, well, what does need to change and what really is the problem? So remember to look inwards instead of outwards. Cancer, with the moon in your sign in the beginning of the week, oh man, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. But by Wednesday, when the moon moves into Leo and we have this new moon, you're going to feel like a huge weight is off your chest. Make sure to take the beginning of the week to kind of purge your emotions, release stuff, don't stuff it. Get out there in nature if at all possible. Really just kind of let the energy flow through you, and this too shall pass. The new moon in your second house is going to say that there's actually a really awesome opportunity for you to feel as though you are valued for your sensitivity. So instead of hiding your sensitivity because you feel bad about it, or quite possibly you're judged for it, remember that sensitivity is a strength. It's not always a weakness. It's actually a really amazing strength. You feel things. You are special because you sense things, among other things. You're special for a lot of reasons. But it's going to be really important to value yourself, and that includes valuing your sensitivity. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in your 10th house. There's going to be a sense of like one step forward, 2 steps back when it comes to career, when it comes to where you're headed in life. Just go with the flow, and as much as you can, try not to resist the flow, because eventually we will get to where we want to be, but we have to just kind of, it's this cooperative relationship between this is what I want, this is what's actually happening, and you have to kind of intertwine them, right? So when it comes to career, when it comes to making money, when it comes to achieving status or prestige or any of those things, you're actually going to feel like you're moving backwards. And that's when it's really going to be important to value yourself, even if other people don't see the same thing. Hold strong with unconditional love towards yourself. Everything will come out in the wash. It will be okay. Mercury in Leo is in your second house, and so what I'm going to say is, in contrast to some other signs, there's actually, you need to believe in yourself more. You are being challenged to love yourself unconditionally and believe in yourself, because for the next little while you may actually be feeling like you're not getting the feedback you were hoping for, you're not getting the promotion, or you're not achieving the success that you were hoping for, and you may start to doubt everything. You may go through a crisis of faith where you go, oh my God, what am I doing? And maybe I made all the wrong decisions. No, no, just be patient with it. You're going to receive little breadcrumbs, little tidbits of information, and you might want to adjust your approach accordingly, just little bits at a time. Don't make any major decisions. Don't give up on a life dream. Don't do that. Don't give up on anything. Be patient and trust that as long as you stick to who you are, what your vision is, what your purpose is, everything will work out. This is just a period of reevaluating, and this is going to be a challenging time for you to learn how to believe in yourself no matter what. Leo, when the moon moves into Cancer in your 12th house, you may be really struggling with a deluge of emotions that you have no idea how to even sift through them. There's just so many. And this deluge of emotions may come in the form of what feels like a mystery, where you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. It feels like my entire world is falling apart. I have no idea what to do. Just roll with it. The new moon is going to be in your first house. Allow those emotions to come up and look at them, but don't anchor yourself to one in particular. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming through. This is going to be a new moon that is especially potent for you because it is in your sign. So, maybe your outer self has been behaving one way because you seek social acceptance, but your inner self is miserable. Leading up to this new moon, you're going to realize how your outer self and your inner self are perhaps out of alignment. So by Wednesday, it's going to be a time of coming into alignment and saying, I value my feelings. My feelings are valid. My experience is valid. How I feel, what I want, it's all valid. So if you've been, putting on a mask, if you have been bending over backwards to please other people, this is going to be a time of deciding, you know what? F it. I'm putting myself first. And the chips may fall where they may. There may be a domino effect. If you have relationships in your life where you have constantly been doing what they want and pleasing them, this is going to be a time of kind of pulling back. And then if it wasn't a healthy relationship to begin with, it's going to fall apart. It's the kind of thing of realizing where things are out of balance and having to be really, really honest with yourself about the nature of your relationships, the nature of any energy exchanges in your life, and whether or not you're expecting either too much from yourself, or maybe you're expecting too much from other people, or alternatively, maybe you've just been putting up with the bare minimum of effort from other people, and you're going to just throw in the towel and say, you know what, this is not worth it for me, right? You have to put yourself first in order to survive this week. And in life in general. Jupiter retrograde is going to be in your 9th house. Your crisis of faith or awakening process is going to be about how, when, where, and why you are limited. How have your beliefs about yourself or other people limited your progress in life? Or how are you holding yourself back because you're so busy taking care of other people that you've put your own projects and your own ideas on hold? This is going to be a time of you coming back and saying, wait a minute, I got stuff I want to take care of, you know what I mean? Or I really need to put myself first. Again, your emotions may prove to be elusive. It may be really hard for you to acknowledge why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. But remember, for every situation that perhaps is out of alignment in your life, make sure that you are taking as much responsibility for your part as you possibly can. And then that way it will be the best learning experience it possibly can be. Again, just like I said with Gemini, if you're pointing the finger outwards too much, you're not realizing how much responsibility you have as well. We all have the power to walk away from any situations that make us feel like crap, but we can't walk away from ourselves. So be sure that you are not your own worst enemy. We do the most damage to ourselves outside of other people. The Mercury being in your sign right now is a great opportunity to really be mindful of what it is you think about. What kind of inner dialogue, if you have one, what kind of inner dialogue happens? How do you speak to yourself? How do you perceive yourself? And are those, inner things that are happening, are they opening doors for you in life, or are they closing doors for you in your life? If it feels as though you don't have many options, or that your future seems bleak or limited, it's going to all come back to how you perceive yourself. So for example, if you're in a really toxic situation, if you're surrounded by toxic people or anything along those lines, right? And you end up with a really crappy perspective of yourself. One of my favorite quotes is, before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not in fact surrounded by a-holes. This is especially potent right now for you Leos, because Leo really, show a lot of confidence, but deep down inside struggle with confidence. And a lot of Leo's pursuit of confidence comes from seeking validation from other people. So what I was saying was, if you're surrounded by toxic people, for example, or even if there's only one or two toxic people in your life, it has a tendency to work from the insides and make us think that we are not worth more. And if we believe that, Jupiter, then we limit ourselves and we never leave those people and we never try new things, right? Mercury in your sign is creating a square to Mars and Uranus in Taurus. You will not feel better about yourself until you change the establishment, either by changing the system that has already been established or by exiting the system entirely, exiting whatever it is you feel stuck in. If you can't change it from the insides out, you have to preserve your sense of self by leaving. I hope that makes sense. Again, it's this contrast between the first house of self and the 10th house of legacy. Is my persona able to create the legacy that I want to, the success, the fame, the just even humble successes, right? It's a matter of coming back to, don't take life too seriously. We're never getting out of here alive. Other people's opinions and perspectives are likely weighing down your heart right now. But if you took them out of the picture, you'd actually feel amazing about yourself and your life. So just think about that. Think about, if this or this or this or them were eliminated from my life, would I actually feel really good about who I am and where I'm going and what I'm doing? Is it those people, or is it that situation that's making me question everything, including my own self-worth? So see how much you can extrapolate what the source of toxicity is in your life, and then get an exterminator, essentially. Virgo, the moon moving into Cancer is in your 11th house. And for you, this may be a manifestation of feeling a deep level of compassion or emotion around the outside world, around society in general. You may be noticing stuff on the news. You may be hearing stuff about your community. Your heart may just be breaking for the world as a whole right now, and your desire to help and to heal is quite limited as an individual. If you have the ability to do some grand gesture or to step in on a social or political scale, absolutely go for it. But you Virgos might be really struggling with a sense of, I see all this pain, I see all this suffering, and I have no idea what to do about it. So just remember, even if you can't do something grand or wonderful, it is important to use the emotions that compel you to do something good, even if it's on a small scale. Try and find something that you can do that makes you feel as though you are helping your community in some way, or helping vulnerable members of your community, or helping to unite people of a common cause. Taking action on social causes, taking action on humanitarian stuff is really going to help you kind of deal with the big feels that you're having right now. The new moon for you is going to happen in your 12th house. So you're going to be going in the beginning of the week from a sense of purpose. Okay, well, maybe I can do this to be helpful. And the new moon is going to be a time of you having some really deep metaphysical questions. What is the meaning of life anyway? Why do good people suffer? Those sorts of things, right? The new moon for you is going to be an opportunity for you to see beyond your everyday life and start to tap into a higher purpose if you haven't already. This new moon is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to really start thinking on a global scale, or at least a wider scale than your own personal little bubble, and think, outside of my day-to-day, boring stuff, where and when and how could I make a difference that would live longer than me? Where, when, and how can I possibly make somebody else's life better? Or how could I possibly use either my privilege or my status or my position in a way that is going to be helpful instead of just for me? So it's funny because for a lot of the signs in the zodiac this week, it's all about tuning inwards and looking at the inner self. But for you, Virgo, it's actually going to be looking outwards. How can I be helpful? How can I be a leader of social or an advocate of change? Something along those lines is really going to help you feel empowered. And through that, an opportunity to either continue living your higher purpose or tap into your higher purpose is going to manifest for you. By the end of the week, you might be struggling with a question of, am I doing this because I really want people to see me as a good person? Or am I doing this because I genuinely want to help people? So that question might come up for you. If it does, look at it, face it, admit it. And you may end up deciding that whatever good deed or whatever helpful thing you want to do, you might end up deciding by the end of the week to do it anonymously, to really cement that it's not about you. It's about other people. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in Aries, activating your 8th house of life, death, rebirth, karma, energetic exchanges, deeper patterns and cycles. You're really going to be thinking about the bigger picture for the next little bit, especially with Jupiter retrograde in your 8th house. This is going to be a time of perhaps even rethinking the meaning of life, or reevaluating your spiritual path, your faith in general. And again, it's going to be kind of going hand in hand with watching the world suffer. And it may first start as a, why does God let good people suffer, if that's your belief? Or it may manifest or evolve into something where you're like, everybody needs to help. I have enough that I can share. So do you. So do you. You know what I mean? Or pushing your local government to do its share instead of, all of the silly things that governments waste money on, that sort of thing. So it's really going to be about stepping outside of yourself and seeing what you can do to expand the possibilities, to bring healing, to bring comfort, to bring compassion to those who need it the most. It's all about sharing compassion. So if you find a well of emotions coming up, make sure to do something with it and put all that love that you have into practice. Libras, You are dealing with an emotional connection around your career and legacy. You are going to be thinking, do I really love doing this anymore? Is this who I am? Is going to be the big, big questions for you at the beginning of the week for the new moon in Leo. It's all going to be about reassessing your goals, reassessing your trajectory in life. You maybe reconsider your career. This may be a time of, if you're currently job searching, expanding your search to, industries or topics that you never would have even considered before. It's definitely going to be a focus on where am I going from here, and are my plans, are my efforts a true reflection of who I consider myself to be and the character that I want to be in society as a whole? Am I doing enough to really kind of live beyond my initial purpose, which was just making money, and really move towards making a difference, or feeling as though you're like channeling a gift for yourself or a higher purpose? So a lot like Virgo, it's going to be, a lot about seeing yourself in the context of the world as a whole. But for you, it's going to be more along the lines of like taking action and reassessing your goals and perhaps making some tweaks or changes to your career path or to your job. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in your 7th house, which means that whatever your situation has been within the context of one-on-one relationships, either with a boss or a lover or a partner, you're going to be reassessing your beliefs around what you hoped for out of that relationship, what you are willing to put into that relationship, and whether or not that relationship reflects who you are and what you want out of life, and whether or not these relationships that you have with either, like I said, business partners, romantic partners, you're going to be putting them under a microscope essentially and thinking, okay, are these people that I really want to work with? Are these people that I really want to create a life with? And you're going to be thinking about the long-term implications of the choices you've made up until this point. And that's why this week is going to be reevaluating, is that where I want to go? Is that who I want to do it with? And that sort of thing. Mars and Uranus and Taurus are showing a huge potential for change when it comes to energy exchange. This is going to be debt, shared resources, family karma. It's going to be this deeper look at, am I doing what I'm doing because of my trauma, or am I doing what I'm doing because this is my joy? Am I fulfilling a role that I've always fulfilled and now I'm just waking up to it and realizing what I'm doing? Or am I channeling a higher purpose by helping people who went through what I went through? Or, you know what I mean? You're going to be thinking about the deeper implications of who you are in the world as a whole, and the career that you choose, or the legacy that you leave behind. Scorpio, this emotional reset, this time of tuning into yourself and who you are and what you want out of life, is actually going to be profoundly productive for you in the beginning of the week. In the beginning of the week, you're going to be almost like supercharged, and you're going to be thinking, okay, actually, I see new ideas. I see new potential. You're just going to be like full of all kinds of like inspiration and ideas, and you're going to want to be making some changes, right? But by the new moon on Wednesday, you may be struck with this whole reality brick and go, oh God, it's not that easy. You may kind of second guess your ideas and your plans and all the inspiration you had Monday, Tuesday. By Wednesday, you might go, oh my God, what was I thinking? That is just so ridiculous. Here's the thing though. All those realizations are valid, and you might not be able to accomplish everything on your list, but it's worth giving it a try. Because this inspiration that's going to come to you in the beginning of the week, it does have potential to change your life forever. So try and suspend the disbelief and run with at least one awesome idea that you came up with, but hopefully more than just one. Take it. Use it. Don't just brush it off as a silly poo-poo thing. You really do have inspiration that can change your life, and it's going to come through in the beginning of the week. Jupiter retrograde is going to be a time of either health issues or rethinking what it is you do on a day-to-day basis, and whether or not those habits and those routines are really getting you to where you want to be. So, for example, you might decide, well, hey, instead of buying this coffee on my way to work every single day, I'm going to set that aside. That's going to be my trip jar. And I'm going to use that money to go somewhere I've never been before. It's going to be about rethinking your daily routines and how can you tweak them or change them in order to open up possibilities, in order to make these cool ideas a reality instead of just a pipe dream. You're going to think, okay, what can I do on a day-to-day basis to actually put this into action and make it work? It's also going to be a time of thinking, for example, if you have, because the 6th house is about health, if you're thinking, oh man, I'd love to run a marathon, but I smoke cigarettes, then this is going to be a time of going, well, okay, I have a goal. I want to do something awesome. Now I'm going to have to make a health change. But by doing so, even if it's hard, I'm going to open up a world of possibilities for myself. So it's going to be along those lines. The Mars and Uranus and Taurus is in your 7th house. So you might be most resistant to making changes within your personal life, either business or romantic partners. You may feel like, oh, no, those, not changing those. But the more and more and more you tune into what you want and where you want to be, it's going to become glaringly obvious whether or not the people you are with are either helping you get there or holding you back. So that's going to be something you're going to want to stay open to realizing and implementing those realizations. So just to recap, you're going to get hit with a burst of inspiration at the beginning of the week. Write it down, record it. Definitely don't just throw that opportunity away. There's some gold in there. Sagittarius, the moon in Cancer in the beginning of the week is going to be in your 8th house, and you might be feeling especially deep, especially dark, especially like contemplative around life's deeper questions. And you may have such a flood of emotions. You're usually so positive. You usually just be like, okay, I'm good. I don't really want to feel this way, so I'm going to do something to either keep myself busy or distract myself. But in the beginning of the week, you're going to have a really hard time running from your emotions, which brings up a really good point. You shouldn't run from your emotions. You should allow them to teach you. So a lot like Scorpio, you are going to have inspiration come to you, but it's going to be in the opposite form of what you would expect. It's not going to be excited inspiration. It's going to be the kind of thing where your emotions are really heavy and you're going to have to just sit with them, but your emotions have something to teach you. And the new moon is going to happen in your 9th house in fellow fire sign Leo. So it's a great opportunity for you to get really creative about bringing some newness into your life. Switch up your routine. Plan either a staycation or a little vacation. Think of ways that you could make your life a little bit more exciting if things have gotten boring or you've gotten really entrenched in routine. See what you can do to kind of either spice up your life. You can do it on a dime. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. But start to try and imagine, okay, how can I bring some newness? How can I like freshen things up a little bit? So don't run from your emotions. Think about how you can make things a little bit different and more exciting for yourself. Jupiter retrograde is going to be in your 5th house, and it might be a time of feeling like your creative juices are just not flowing. You might be struggling with writer's block. You might be struggling with insomnia or just procrastinating like it's going out of style, trying to get your like mojo going while Jupiter is retrograde in Aries is going to be extremely hard for you. It's going to and it's going to be a time of having to be more creative. If, for example, you have a routine of always working in a certain chair at a certain desk with a certain light, your creative inspiration, when it starts to feel blocked, might actually be reopened if you rearrange your furniture a little bit. Or, what I'm getting to is if you always do things in the same way and your creativity is blocked, don't keep doing things in the same way. Try something new. So the solution for you this week and moving forward is going to be all about being creative, thinking about different solutions, change it up. Change it up, change it up, change it up. You may also be struggling with a sense of, oh my God, things are always going to be like this, especially if you're stuck in any kind of a dead-end job, or maybe your job is just wearing on you lately. It's even more important to start having like a date night once a week, or a girls or guys or their date, like bringing some activity in, bringing some newness, having some travel, having some, maybe you try a new food every week or something like that. You're going to really be struggling with almost like a heavy weight of feeling like everything's always going to be the way it is. And so it's really important for you to empower yourself to make creative changes and bring a little newness into your life. That daily routine is going to be the stickiest thing for you. You're so entrenched in routine, but that's really where the creativity has to come in. Change up something, even if it's small, it'll make a huge difference for your psyche and for your creativity. Capricorns, the moon moving into Cancer in the beginning of the week is going to bring a lot of emotions up within your one-on-one relationships. You might first notice that people around you are acting really emotional, or it might be you realizing that you're far more emotional than usual. But this is a great opportunity for you to work on expressing your emotions, because the people who love you and care about you, or perhaps work with you, would probably rather know what's going on rather than just going, wow, they're really off this week, right? I know you're not usually the type of person to want to talk about your emotions, but it's going to be important that you find a way to get them out of you so that they don't fester and become yucky inside of your gut. So the beginning of the week for you is going to be very, very highlighted on those one-on-one relationships in your life, business, professional, romantic. They're going to be emotionally charged. If, on the other hand, instead of hesitating to express your emotions, if you find yourself just like puking your emotions on people, you're going to have to really check yourself and realize that, as much as somebody loves you, they're not your punching bag, and they're not your, bottomless pit of emotional support. You have to evaluate whether or not you're expecting too much from people. If you expect that the people in your life are just going to put up with you on good days and bad days, and you're never going to control yourself, you're going to destroy all your relationships, right? So it's going to be about finding a really good, healthy balance of communicating, but also knowing when to zip it, right? Don't stuff everything, but don't express everything, because it might hurt or be overwhelming for people. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in your 4th house. So you're going to be going through a lot of heavy stuff, and you're going to be realizing that a lot of the reasons you behave the way that you do, or interact with the people that you do, or repeat patterns the way that you do, all have roots to early childhood. And you're going to be, really seeing this a lot. Your eyes are going to be opened to these one-on-one relationships in your life and the patterns that have been happening your entire life. It's going to be really important to look at the roots of these behavioral patterns, because it's a wasted opportunity if we don't have these things brought to our attention, and then we say, nope, I'd rather keep doing it instead of heal it, right? This is an opportunity for you to heal in a way that allows you, it empowers you to step out of these habitual reactions or toxic relationships, empowers you to see your part in things, and value yourself enough to walk away from anything that is either unhealthy, unhappy, or toxic. It may feel irresponsible for you to put yourself first, but in a lot of ways you're going to have to. But remember, to put yourself first means to unconditionally love yourself and to validate your feelings, and to make choices based on whether or not you feel good about them. But at the same time, because Mercury's in Leo, you might have kind of like a rubber band effect, where instead of focusing on everybody else all the time, you might go to the total polar opposite and go, okay, it's all about me from now on. Neither one of those is going to be especially good or healthy. So if you find yourself kind of bouncing between polar opposites, that's exactly what your astrology says this week. So just see about balancing that and bringing yourself back into a place of like, okay, I love myself, I value myself, I validate my emotions and my experience, but I also validate their experience. Both have to happen. Aquarius. When the moon moves into Cancer at the beginning of the week, it's going to be in your 6th house. And you may be experiencing realizations about how your emotions affect your health. When you are emotionally bagged, you have a hard time getting through a day of work. In fact, you might sleep in or call in sick or avoid all responsibilities because you've gone la 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 to your emotions for so long that when they finally bubble up, there's a lot there, right? So if you find, Aquarius, that in the beginning of the week you need to take some me time to deal with your emotions, that's totally fine, do that. But part of your reflection is going to be the realization that you really need to be addressing your emotions on a regular basis instead of letting them get to a breaking point at which point you can't not face them, right? Your day-to-day life is going to be influenced and it's going to have an emotional tone. You may feel sick to your stomach, you may have a headache, you may have a migraine. It may be the kind of thing where you just can't manage. It's because of your emotions. And your emotions are a barometer telling you what is working and not working in your life. So avoid the tendency to go la la la. That's not going to be helpful. The new moon on Wednesday is going to be in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships, which means that all the build-up in the beginning of the week is going to bring you to a place where on Wednesday or right around Wednesday, you're going to decide something needs to change. And that may take a variety of forms, but that's essentially the gist of it. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in your 3rd house, which means that you're going to be rethinking how free you are to speak your truth or how free other people are to speak their truth in your life. Do you expect other people to listen to you, but then when they want to say something, you just shut the door? It's going to be important for you to evaluate whether or not you're extending to people in your life the same grace, the same patience, the same compassion that you expect for yourself. Or conversely, if you, for example, had a really hard life and you never had grace or compassion or patience extended towards you, you may not even know how to offer that to other people. So for a typically emotionally reserved sign, I mean, Aquarius, you guys are the water bearer. You take your emotions and hold them out over here and go, okay, what do we do with this? I'm exaggerating, of course. The water bearer, right? You're usually so good about managing your emotions because you're able to create distance. You're able to compartmentalize, right? But if you do that too much, it becomes unhealthy. And so that's going to be the thing for you, that you're not going to be able to run from your emotions anymore this week. In fact, you're going to hit a breaking point within your personal relationships where you realize that you've been stuffing how you feel for far too long. And so something major is going to change. That something major could be somebody who currently lives in your home. It could be a well-established emotional base from which the rest of your life grows. And so for you to evaluate whether or not this change is even possible is going to be very, very difficult for you. The Mars and Uranus in Taurus are in your 4th house of emotional roots, family history, and also your home, your safe place. So for you, it's going to be a lot of soul searching. It's going to be a lot of hitting a point where your emotions are here, your health is starting to suffer, and then you finally decide something has to change. So don't wait too long. Don't break yourself. Make sure to make those hard choices before it's too late. And finally, Pisces. When the moon moves into Cancer at the beginning of the week, that's a water sign, just like yourself. You're probably going to be feeling a little bit more emotional than usual, but it's going to be in your element, so you're going to go with the flow. You're going to be steering more towards not socializing and wanting to spend more time at home. But it's going to be a great time to connect with your family, to play with kids, to do creative projects, to dip your toes in the ocean, to really just kind of be easy breezy. The beginning of the week's going to be great. By the new moon, though, the new moon is going to be, because it's in Leo, it's going to be in your 6th house. And so there's going to be a sense of, oh man, I kind of ran from my responsibilities for a little bit too long this week. And so by Wednesday, it's going to be like, oh, I really got to get back at it. I've got a huge to-do list, or my work's been calling and I guess I can't really fake being sick anymore, or something along those lines. So enjoy the beginning of the week. It's going to feel amazing for you. By Wednesday, new moon, it's going to feel like reality is crashing in. So definitely, if there are important projects, if there are important phone calls that you have to do, see about getting as many of them done as you can in a decent amount of time, so that you're not hit with a ton of bricks by like Wednesday, Thursday. That's not going to be any fun for you. Jupiter being retrograde is going to be in your 2nd house of values and of tangible results for your hard work. And so there's going to be a period of you perhaps questioning your career goals, questioning either your job or pursuit of money, or you're going to be looking at your bank account or, you know, your fridge and going, wow, am I being paid what I'm worth? Or do I really believe in this path that I'm walking? It's not producing the results that I'm hoping for. And you might even start to get down on yourself about the whole thing. You might start to really just be hard on yourself. So remember that, you know, any kind of reflections that you get, money is not an indicator of your value as a person. Whether or not people are, you know, ringing out your phone because they really want to, you know, get your paintings or your products or your services, you know, the feedback that you get from the outside world, it is useful, it is helpful, but it is not everything. Your value as a person goes far deeper than that. So if you're having a little bit of issues with finances, or feeling as though maybe you're struggling to achieve the abundance that you're hoping for, see how you can just be more creative, aligning with your original goals, aligning with who you are as a person, staying in alignment with, you know, your higher purpose or your creative gifts. Make tweaks, make little changes, but this is not the time to throw in the towel. This is not the time to make any major decisions like that. For you, it's going to come down to little details. What are ways that I could manage my time better? What are ways that I could budget my money better? Making little tweaks and little changes will actually create a far greater effect than completely throwing everything away and trying to start over. That's not going to work for you. So